Welcome to the Partners in Project Green's webinar on water efficiency for institutional, commercial and industrial facilities in Peel, which is in partnership with the region of Peel. On behalf of Partners in Project Green team, I would like to thank you all for joining us. While we meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We respectfully acknowledge that we are situated on the traditional territories and treaty lands, in particular those of the Mississauga Nation, as well as the Anishinaabe of the Williams Treaty First Nations, the Huron-Wendat, and the Haudenosaunee. As stewards of land and water resources within the Greater Toronto Region, Toronto and Region Conservation Authority appreciates and respects the history and diversity of the land and is grateful to have the opportunity to work and meet on this territory. Now, land acknowledgement gives us an opportunity to reflect on our relationship with the land and the First Nation communities that live on the land. I currently live and work on the same traditional territories as the TRCA, and I'm committed to improving my own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures and the knowledge on the conservation of land and waterways that have been passed down from ancestors. We encourage each of you to take time to reflect your own positioning on the lands you inhabit, and we have a few resources listed on this slide. Next slide, please. This is our agenda for today's webinar. So we will start with a few Partners in Project Green updates. We are joined today by Fariha Ahmed from the region of Peel, who will present information on the region's indoor water assessment program for industrial properties, as well as water saving opportunities for commercial and institutional facilities. This will be followed by a presentation on building a business case for water conservation by Lloyd Hipple from Enviro Stewards and Said Nakwe from Super Puff Snacks Corporation. We will have a Q&A at the end, so please feel free to add questions. Next slide, please. So first up is our PPG updates. There is a free resource available which provides ICI and multi-unit residential building sectors with the knowledge to improve their properties' adaptation to a changing climate. There are videos and accessible resources that discuss flood and extreme heat risks in Canada and tools and actions to address them. Benefits of utilizing green infrastructure and low-impact development techniques as sustainable solutions to build climate resilience are also included on this hub. So modules 1 and 2 have been released. We will have 3 and 4 released during the summer, and another one on heat resilience at the end of summer. So please do check out this resource. You should have the link in the chat as well. Next slide, please. So the Circular Economy Leaders Consortium is a network of sustainability professionals who are seeking to achieve measurable facility waste prevention and diversion goals. And we're doing this in a number of different ways. We're learning from each other. We're sharing resources and expertise on best practices and innovative technologies. We're strategizing solutions to common challenges and identifying opportunities for continuous improvement. You can learn more about how you can join the CEC, as well as more information on the CEC itself on our website. But we do have 12 organizations who are currently part of the Circular Economy Leaders Consortium. Next slide, please. Financing Net Zero is a 3-part series that PPG was offering in the early part of this year. Next Thursday, which is June 22nd, we are offering the last session of the Financing Net Zero series. And this time, the focus will be on financial institutions. Our key presenter, HSBC, will give an overview of the kinds of financing options that they offer for energy-saving projects and retrofits. So please do join us in person at our head office in Vaughan for presentation, roundtable discussions and networking, but there's also an online option which includes the presentation and an opportunity for question and answers. And you can sign up and learn more on our website. So our first presentation today will focus on the region of Peel's industrial indoor water assessment, on how this program works, eligibility, and why it's important to improve water efficiency. Presenter Fariha Ahmed is a water efficiency technical analyst at the region of Peel since 2019, and she has actively worked on industrial indoor water assessments program and supported several businesses with their water usage over the years. She also annually analyzes and monitors water-related metrics, including domestic usage, leak index, and peak usage across Peel residents and businesses. She's also an active member of the Ontario Waterworks Association's Water and Energy Efficiency Committee. Next slide, please. The second presentation will focus on building a business case for water conservation. Case studies from Super Puffed Snacks Corporation and Maple Lodge Farms will be presented. Our presenters are Lloyd Hipple from Enviro Stewards and Saeed Naqvi from Super Puffed Snacks Corp. Lloyd is a professional engineer and a project director at Enviro Stewards, which is an environmental engineering firm and a certified B Corporation that cultivates resilient businesses and improves lives in extraordinary ways. He's also a member of the OWWA's Water and Energy Efficiency Committee and is involved in Enviro Stewards' humanitarian safe water social ventures in East Africa. Next slide, please. Syed is a mechanical engineer who's currently pursuing his license to become a professional engineer, and he serves as the maintenance coordinator at Super Puffed Snacks Corporation, where he leverages his skills to drive efficiency and productivity. He is also the secretary of the Joint Health and Safety Committee and identifies risks promoting a culture of safety. And his experience spans various roles in renewable energy, oil and gas, automotive, food, and sheet metal industries. And this has allowed him to acquire valuable expertise and hone his problem-solving abilities across various domains. On behalf of Partners in Project Green, I would like to thank you all for presenting and taking your time of your busy schedule to be with us today. I would now like to invite Fariha to start the presentation.
Thanks, Chaya. Hi, everyone. So my name is Faria, and as Chaya mentioned, I'm a water efficiency technical analyst at the region of Peel. I want to thank you all for joining today's Slow the Flow Speed Up Savings webinar, looking at water efficiency for industrial, commercial, and institutional facilities in Peel. So to start off, just a quick agenda on the items that I'll cover today before handing it over to Lloyd from Enviro Stewards. He'll go over some actual water efficiency case studies and further program details. So we'll start off with a background, followed by some program details on the actual indoor industrial water assessments program offered by Peel. This will be followed by some eligibility requirements on our end for the program and the actual application process. I'll then talk about commercial and institutional properties, ending with any questions that you may have. So just to start off, let's begin with a quick poll to see where everyone is at regarding making actual water efficient changes at their facility. It should just pop up on your screen. So I'll just give everyone a couple of minutes to do that.
I think we're good to close the poll. And there you go. Okay. There was the results.
Perfect. So thanks, everyone. So just to go over it. So the question was, has your facility made any changes to internal water efficiency in the past? Looks like it's all pretty even, but yes being at the lowest and not sure being almost at 50%. Okay, so just going to move on to the next slide, please. Perfect, thanks. So for some background, I'm part of the environmental education team here at the region. It's a team that provides information and resources to schools, businesses, and the public, such as residents on water, wastewater, waste, and transportation. We actually recently updated our water efficiency resources for businesses specifically on our webpage, where content can be found for industries, commercial, and institutional facilities. The overall goal here is to assist and provide information to businesses in Peel regarding water efficiency. And finally, we reintroduced that indoor water assessments program for industrial facilities specifically. In the past, some of the common water saving opportunities that we saw in industrial facilities were replacing water-cooled systems with air-cooled systems and removing once-through water use processes. The program we have set in place offers industries with a free water audit. So this audit will actually help determine water saving opportunities and associated return on investment through the expertise and guidance of our consultant Enviro stewards. So there are 3 ways to start this process and determine if this program is ideal for your facility. You can email me or call me directly. And the third option is to actually complete an online contact form that can be found on our website, which was shared a little while ago. So these steps can also be taken to just learn more about the program itself or other water-related inquiries that we have on our webpage. So we're just going to move on to a second poll, and it's just going to come up momentarily. And if you can please fill it out. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. So just to kind of go over it, the question was, please select your top 3 reasons for wanting to be more water efficient. Some of the options that I laid out was just based on what I've seen in the past, reducing water bill, saving money, reducing environmental impact, that's at 100%, which is fantastic. Improving business's reputation is also over 50%. And doing an equipment and process change upgrade, we had 1 response. So that's fantastic. Those are usually our top reasons for taking part in our program and even just learning more about water efficiency. So thank you for filling that out. So there are 5 main eligibility requirements for the water assessment program. Your business must be in Peel, first of all. So that means it has to be a Brampton, Mississauga, or Caledon address. Should you have multiple properties in Peel, each specific address may be eligible for an audit. So it's not just a one-off or 1 property. However, should we reach capacity for the year, we do have a wait list available just for the following year. So other eligibility requirements are that the facility must be under the industrial category for this specific program, meaning that it's in manufacturing, food and beverage, or a supplier of some sort, just to name a few. The business is to contain water using equipment and processes, as our program does not look at energy specifically. And you must be open to a site walkthrough that may include some metering with a flow meter. So it may stay at your facility for a few days, up to 2 weeks, just depending on the operating hours. And finally, it must be a medium to large size facility. So those are our main requirements for this industrial program. So if eligibility is confirmed, the application process can be summarized into 8 steps. So first, someone from the industry must reach out to the region, either by email, by phone, or that online contact form that I mentioned earlier. A virtual meeting will be set up to discuss the program, business details, and scheduling an audit with myself. And next would be the actual audit on site, where myself and the consultant would meet with a facility staff member that's very familiar with your plant floor operation and equipment. So metering may occur and it might be left on for a period of time. It's a non-intrusive meter. It's just a flow meter to get minute by minute data. Data will be gathered, and once those meters are picked up, the consultant will create a report highlighting all the findings and recommended water saving opportunities. So the report will be sent electronically for their reference to the business, and it's then up to the business to make any of those changes from the report. There's no specific deadline, but the region would just like to maintain some regular communication regarding your possible next steps. There's no actual obligation. It's really a stepping stone for businesses if they are interested in water efficiency, but are just not sure where to start. And then if the changes are executed, a second audit may be scheduled to determine your actual savings, and a second report would be provided at that time showing those actual savings. And finally, there is a social media option on cross promotion between the business and the region, whether it's through Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, depending on the situation. So I would like to take a minute right now just to bring up to your attention a new program that specifically the City of Mississauga is offering for Mississauga-based businesses that you may wish to consider. In addition to this Region of Peel program, you may be applicable for both. It's not just one or the other. So the Mississauga Climate Leaders Program is supporting local businesses local business capacity to identify and implement actions to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions, save energy, and lower costs. So this one is specific more towards energy. So we have the greenhouse gas emission reduction plan training, and then they also have the greenhouse gas emission and energy efficiency site assessments. So regarding the training, Enviro Stewards would actually deliver a 4-session program that will take participants through the steps to create and implement a profitable plan to reduce your GHG emissions, save energy, and improve your margins. And in terms of the site assessments, PPG will lead a team of technical experts in a walkthrough of your facility to actually identify energy efficiency and GHG reduction opportunities. So upon completion, participants will receive a summary report identifying the suggested actions and funding sources to support implementation. So it's very similar to our Region of Peel audit program, except this is looking specifically at GHGs and energy, whereas the Region of Peel program is open to all Peel businesses, and that one is specifically looking at water efficiency. So again, this can be applied in addition to our audit program, and interested businesses are encouraged to either visit the MCLP program page just to learn more. They can fill out an intake form there and learn more information, or they can contact John Barber specifically in this case, and the email and phone is there. And of course, if you're interested, this can be shared afterwards as well. So moving on to the third poll, it should pop up momentarily just to get an idea of the next question. Okay, perfect. Thank you, everyone. So just to go over the third question, I asked you to select what changes you would be willing to make at your facility when it comes to water efficiency. So the top two I see are small equipment replacements, so toilets, fridges, freezers. That's quite common in our commercial facilities, which I'll be talking about momentarily. And then recycling once through water, so altering piping. That's actually, we've seen that quite often in the past as well. A lot of industries, you're already using water, and instead of it going directly to the drain, if it can be recycled, that's also a great opportunity. So thank you for filling that out. So moving on to commercial and institutional sector, it's a good segue when we saw so many people that are willing to make small equipment changes. So when it comes to our commercial and institutional sector, this refers to things like convenience stores, restaurants, clinics, hospitals, just to name a few examples. And as mentioned earlier, we recently updated our water efficiency webpage. So on there is content specifically for commercial and institutional properties. So leaks are actually one of the top reasons for high water bills at these facilities that we found in the past, and just performing regular property inspections can help prevent this. Your water bill can also be reduced if inefficient equipment, water using equipment, is replaced with efficient models. So this may be air using alternatives or equipment that simply uses less water while performing the same task. So for instance, replacing a 13-liter toilet with a 4.0 just being more environmentally friendly. So there are 6 equipment that we've seen get replaced most often in the commercial and institutional sector. And this is actually provided on our webpage. All the details are there, but I just wanted to go over it just so you get a better idea of some of the recommendations that we suggest just based on what we've seen in the past. So let's start with the first 3. We have walk-in fridge freezer unit or condenser, ice machines, and toilets. So all of this information, like I said, is provided on the webpage, but please note that all the listed costs are approximate, as savings are dependent on, of course, the level of usage. So the values are actually based on multiple sources spanning from online resources to credible reports, manufacturing specs, and historic program data. And the approximate values listed include money saved per year, the one-time investment cost, and the water that's saved per year. So as you can see from this list, the average max investment is just under $5,000 with over 200 meter cubes of water savings per year, which can add up quite quickly and quite significantly. So the next 3 most popular equipment that get replaced at these type of facilities include urinals, pre-rinse spray valves, and dipper wells. So pre-rinse valves, as well as dipper wells, are kind of most commonly found in restaurants. And as you can see from this list, the average max investment is just under $1,000 for these equipment, with over 15 meter cubed of water savings per year. So you'll note that some of the equipment recommends changing to a water sense unit. And this is just a list of small water efficient products in an affordable price range for the vast majority according to the EPA. So the link again is provided on our webpage. And it looks at, so for an example, if you have a certain type of toilet and you're thinking of replacing it, water sense products are actually very water efficient, and they're proven to be water efficient. They would be on that water sense list. Very common brands would be, for an example, American Standard, Kohler, just to give you an idea, and to verify those savings. So the list also contains outdoor water using equipment options such as sprinklers for your reference. So if outdoor water usage is a concern, there are some great options on that water sense list as well.
Thank you, Fariha, for a very informative session. I know we have a Q&A session at the end, but we have one question that's come through, which I feel could be answered by you very quickly, if you do not mind. So it's a question about the eligibility. It says, for medium to large size facilities, is there any eligibility criteria such as minimum water usage per year?
Oh, that's actually a great question. So there's no eligibility when it comes to the actual water usage. For us, at the end of the day, if water is a concern for you, we want to help in any way we can. So we don't have like a minimum threshold or anything. It's also up to the business of what they're comfortable with. We understand that certain businesses, they don't have the capital investment to make a very large change to their facility. So maybe changing out smaller equipment, changing out water cooled systems with an air cooled system, or just even changing out toilets, that is still an opportunity towards water conservation. So any changes, there's no minimum, would be applicable.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Before we move to our next presentation, I would like to share that there are similar programs offered by the region, by York Region and Toronto. So their water conservation incentive programs, we have a couple of slides. As mentioned, we will have the slide deck up and it'll be available to all participants. So you can take a look at these slides after the webinar as well. But very quickly, I would like to highlight that York, the region of York, offers a comprehensive water audit to identify water saving opportunities for high water use businesses through their ICI capacity buyback incentive program. They also offer a water efficiency equipment replacement incentive program, and you can find all the details on their website. Next slide, please. Toronto also has a capacity buyback program for the ICI sector, and in addition to an industrial water rate and sewer surcharge rebate programs. So again, you can get more information on the website. I would now like to invite Lloyd and Syed to present. Their topic would be why save water, building a business case for water conservation.
Great, thank you very much. Let me just go to full screen here. Welcome everybody, and thanks for attending today's webinar. So I'm going to be talking about why save water, how you can build a business case for water conservation. Very briefly, but on Envirosturge, you heard a bit about us in the introductions, but an engineering firm that helps manufacturers reduce energy, water, reduce waste. In the context of today's webinar, it's about water. So our office ourselves are certified to be water efficient by the Region of Waterloo. We're also part of our local carbon reduction initiative, Sustainable Water in the Region. So we've done dozens of water conservation assessments in our time, and we'll be partnering with Peel to deliver their program. So the poll results were interesting because one of the top reasons for doing water conservation was economic factors. So making a business case for reducing water is always a good way to go about it, especially you have to convince others why you would do so. And one of the main contributing factors is just rising water rates. So in the Kitchener-Waterloo area where we're located, to York Region, to Guelph, the rates are rising each year and will continue to do so for the next little while. And so as those rates increase, of course, your water bill increases as well. So a great way to mitigate those increasing costs is to conserve water. Another high reason for doing water conservation from the polls, which I think might have been 9 out of 9 respondents, was environmental and social factors. And that's certainly true. So a lot of consumers are demanding results now for reducing environmental impact. A lot of companies have made bold claims about what they want to reduce and by how much, but now they have to actually do it. So having a water audit assessment before and after allows you to demonstrate your proven results. A lot of corporations are also participating in ESG goals, and water conservation would fit nicely under those as well. Or you may have a conservation target from head office to reduce water by 5% or energy or whatever it is. And also your competitors are likely doing it. So whenever they're doing something, it's good to look into what they're doing and do it as well to become and remain more competitive in your industry. There are also some recognition opportunities by saving water. One of them is the OWWA Water Efficiency Award. So Bree and I are both on that committee. Fortunately, this year's awards application has closed, but keep this in mind for future years. If you do implement things that conserve water, you could apply for that award. It's awarded annually. And another one is the Clean 50 Award. So it's a national award that recognizes companies, as the tagline says in the logo, that contribute to clean capitalism. And so we'll touch on those a little bit as the presentation goes along. So for example, Arla Foods won the OWWA award in 2018 through York Region's water conservation program. They saved over 37,000 cubic meters per year. It's a bit of a typo in that screenshot there. And the operational savings were almost $30,000 per year, and the payback was less than 6 months. So for Arla, it made a lot of sense to conserve water, really good economics, and they got some recognition. You can see that photo there of the team with a check from York Region. So that was an incentive funding check for the amount of water that they saved through the program. So what does it look like when our team comes on site to look at your water use? So Supriya did a great job of sort of the high level of the PEEL program and the requirements. We'll just dive a bit deeper into what to expect. So these are basically the 5 steps of the assessment flow. First one, just take a quick look at preliminary data. So a few days or weeks before the assessment, I'm going to ask for some utility data to see how your water consumption looks month to month. Perhaps you have some goals that you want to achieve for reducing water, or highlighted areas of your own facility that you want to look at, especially that you may think is consuming more water than necessary. Or you may have some pending projects that you are planning to do that will save water, and you want to be able to capture the before and the after. Then we conduct the walkthrough. So a member of our team and a member of PEEL Region will come on site and do a walkthrough and overview of your water consuming processes and equipment. Again, we can discuss any focus areas that you want it to look at in particular. And our job is to find some key potential water conservation opportunities where you can save water. And as Freya mentioned, we will install some meters. They're non-intrusive. Leave them on usually for 7 days, but could be up to 2 weeks. We'll also do some manual measurements if applicable. So just bucket and stopwatch, or your machine and process specifications might have water consuming information that we can use to calculate consumption that way as well. So this is sort of the deep dive into data collection to figure out what's going on. We'll then pick up the meters, crunch the numbers, and identify what you could change, and quantify what that will result in water savings. So that'll be prepared, as Priya mentioned, in a summary report. We'll quantify the savings for you. Reports reviewed by PEEL to make sure it meets the program, and then it'll be submitted to the facility. And as mentioned, once you do implement something, we'd come back and measure the after results. So that's a high-level overview of what to expect during an audit assessment through this program. And just for your own information, when we talk about non-intrusive meters, this is what we mean. So the top right is just a clamp-on meter. The 2 bottom photos are an ultrasonic meter, and there are 2 sensors that we clamp onto pipes. There's no need to stop the water; it goes right on the outside of the pipe. And then the top left photo is just a bucket and stopwatch measurement of water flow. So we'll take a look at some case studies, and the first one we're going to look at is super puffed. So I'll turn it over to Syed to run through these slides.
Hi, thank you, Lloyd. Hi, everyone. My name is Syed. I work at Super Puffed. So I'm going to start with a brief introduction of Super Puffed. We manufacture snacks, chips. There are a few products that are not on the slide that we recently expanded. So now we also produce wafers, cookies, nutter butter wafers, things like that. So basically, we're one of the largest snacks producers, so manufacturers. So obviously we use a lot of water in production as well. So yeah, thank you. Enviro Steward did a survey for our plant, and they found several places where we could save a lot of water. The 3 cases that are highlighted in this presentation. The first one is like, so before we start with this, let me give you a brief overview of what the process looks like, so you can understand how and why we are saving so much water. So it's when we make chips, the first thing we do is we get potatoes from the fields, which are dirty, right? So we need to wash them. That uses most of our water. After that, they go to the we need to take the peels off. So they go through the peelers, slicers, then they get fried and packaged. So the processing side uses quite a lot of water. The three things that were found by Enviro stewards were the slices, the potato receiving jets, and the augers or destoners, which I'll get into when I'm explaining those. Next slide, please, Lloyd. So the total water saving opportunities that were identified were about $320,000 a year, which is about 123,000 meter cubes water saving per year. Next slide, please, Lloyd. So these were the first one of the three. A white hose. So this was a very interesting water usage that we found in our facility. So this was there was a water hose going to slicers, to our peelers. So what happens is when we get potatoes, we wash them and then we need to take the skin off of them. So we have a peeler. It's an abrasive pad. Potatoes go through it. The peels come off, and you have to have a steady supply of water so that all the peels are washed away. Now, this peeler had we have multiple water inlets to this peeler, but one stood out a bit more because we found out that, I mean, we did not find out, we did not find out why we are using so much extra water with this hose. We went through the processing. We looked at how much water we need on the other peelers as well, and we found out that this is not necessary. When Enviro stewards measured the water, it was about 40 liters a minute, which is a lot, and no one could figure out why we need so much extra water. So we started with basically just switching it off, because if it's not necessary, then why use extra water? After we switched it off, we found that there was no change in our quality of peeling that is done by the peeler. And it ended up saving about 20,000 meter cubes of water, about $50,000 of water a year. So that was a really good one, which was very easy to identify as well. And it saved us a lot of money without compromising on the quality of our product. Now this one, this is just a graph, so I'm just going to give you a brief description of what this graph shows. After peelers, our potatoes, the peeled potatoes, go into the slices. These slices, slice them into whatever, if we need ripple cut or whatever kind of chips, we have to slice them, and we need constant flow of water. So how the slicer works is there's water flowing from the top, potatoes falling on it, and it's just the rotor that is moving. So you need to add water so that potatoes don't get stuck and they flow out efficiently. Now, with this one, there is a jet of water right on top of the slices. This jet of water, when we measured the amount of water going through it, was about 40 liters a minute through one jet. So we had, and this is on one of our slices, PC26. We say it's PC26 because it has a capacity of about 2,600 pounds an hour of potatoes. So that's how much potatoes are going through the slices as well. Once this was identified, we did not want to again affect our processing and reduce it without knowing what the outcome would be. So we actually contacted Chilchom, which is the manufacturer of these particular slices. From the manufacturer, we found out that the recommended flow rate of water for the slices to work efficiently is between 8 to 10 liters a minute. So we were using about 4 times the water, or 400% more water on these slices. The first thing we did was we reduced, so there are valves on the water flow on it. So we reduced the water flow, and We brought it down to about 10 liters a minute, and we observed the processing, we observed the slices. We had a whole team just verify if it was affecting our process in any way. Because if you're not using enough water, oh, okay, I forgot to mention this, potatoes contain a lot of starch. So if we don't use a lot of water, that starch ends up in the fryers. It causes a lot of buildup, and down the line, it makes an increased use of oil, more cleaning. So if we manage to decrease this starch and not have all the potatoes, the starch laden potatoes going to the fryer, that also in turn saves us a lot of water, because we spend less water cleaning all our equipment afterwards. So we didn't want to affect our product, all those things down the line by just reducing it so much. So we ran it for some time. We found out everything's working perfectly. We saved about 30 liters per minute, which is about which is it? I'm sorry, that's about 1900 liters an hour of water that we saved by just turning off the valve on the slices. That is now the yellow line you see on the graph, that is before the changes, and the green line is after the water dropped, after we turned it down. So you can see over here that the water consumption on that particular fryer, it went down by about 1900 liters just by that change, and it ended up saving us about $50,000 a year from only one fryer. We have 3 other fryers. We did implement these changes on other fryers as well. The other fryer has a similar result. We ended up saving about 2000 liters on an hour on that as well. So this was quite interesting and very financially viable for us. And but okay, sorry, just 1 second on the back slide. I just wanted to show one thing. So after the green line, you do see a red line that is going up. That was just so sometimes things are very easy to do, but they're very easy to undo as well. So I just wanted to present this because once we make a certain change, we need to ensure that that change is in place afterwards as well. After we make the change, we don't just want to make a change and not look at it, right? So what we noticed here was again, like the flow meters that Lloyd mentioned in the start. We installed flow meters on all our fryers, and we installed, again provided by Steward, we installed wireless modules which monitor the flow rate 24 hours a day, and we get online, we have a graph and we can see all the water usage online instantaneously, and it is a live data. So we got an alarm of increased water usage again on the same fryer. We went back, we saw that the operators, they had increased the water flow again, and it ended up going even more than what it was before. So for this one, like I said, we need to keep on verifying, and we need to keep on we need to keep looking into the changes that we made, and and ensure that those changes are not undone. So what we ended up doing was we took the valve handles off of the valve so that no one can change it after reducing it. So that's just a little insight on what we did. Next slide, please, Lloyd. Thank you. Again, so this one, sometimes we have opportunities where we can reuse the water, not just eliminate use for it, right? So sometimes we are sending water to the sewers, which actually has more potential of being used in other places. This is one of those cases. So I'm sorry about that. So in this one, what we did was we have all the water that is coming through going through to our drains. We have divided it into separate channels. So we have a separate channel for all the water that going through the slices, the one that I just mentioned before. So those slices and all the potato washing and everything, all that water goes through a separate drain to our centrifuge. A centrifuge is basically just rotating equipment which uses centrifugal force and it removes solids from it. So basically, it's a waste treatment equipment. That's how we are using it. The water we send the water to the centrifuge in order to eliminate the starch that it carries from all our potatoes. All of that accumulates, and we send it to a centrifuge. From there, the centrifuge removes the solids, which is the starch. We get dry powder, which can be used elsewhere. Now, the centrate that comes out of it, that is relatively clean enough that it can be discharged directly into the drains without any further treatment. But one water saving opportunity that was identified was the first step of our process, which is the potato washing that I mentioned. So the potatoes that we get there covered with dirt and muck, and they're dirty because, again, they come from the ground and we receive fresh potatoes. So we have multiple stages where we wash the potatoes to get them clean enough to be sent to the peelers. Now, this is where this water comes in. The water that we got from the centric water, again, it's not clean enough to be used for final stages of washing our potatoes, but we did find that it was clean enough to wash the potatoes in our early stages, which is with the dirt and stuff. So get most of this water to clean all the dirt off the potatoes, and then in later stages use fresh water to get the quality that we want. Now for this one, again, because this needs changes in infrastructure. When the study was done by environmental stewards, our centrifuge was pretty close to our processing equipment. Now we moved it to a waste treatment area. But this project, all the work has been done for it. All the infrastructure is complete, and we're hopefully in the coming few months, we are going to start utilizing the centric water, and we're going to use it in our lower stages of potato washing. And it's written rock remover because we get a lot of rocks and stuff in it as well. So basically in the first stages, the preliminary stages of washing is where we are going to use this water. And it has a potential of saving about 30 to 40% of our usage. Next slide, please, Lloyd. Oh, okay.
That's complete for you. Said.
That's it. Thank you so much, Lloyd.
Yeah.
I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Ed. So I'll just go through the final case study briefly. It's Maple Lodge Farms. So they're a local company and they make a variety of chicken products. So we assessed all their business units. They had several as part of one large facility. Their main water uses were municipal water and some filtered water, which was generated through internal processes. Overall, they saved almost 20% in water, so municipal water, and about 37% in their filtered water. And they were so excited about the results that they implemented right away, just a month after the assessment, which is always great to see. They also included energy with the water, and they saved over $3 million per year for their facility. So quite significant savings, the payback of under 2 years on average. And again, there's a photo of them receiving an incentive check from Peel Region for the savings that they found for water. They applied to the Clean 50 Award, which I talked about earlier. So on the screen is their submission poster for the contest, and they became a top project in 2019. If you go to the Clean 50 website, you can read up about their project as well as other winners as well. So that wraps up our portion of the presentation. Again, thanks very much for your time and attention. And if you have any questions afterwards, feel free to reach out to me via email.
Thank you, Lloyd and Syed, for providing all these interesting details and saving opportunities, water saving opportunities to make a business case to conserve water. We do have quite a few questions, but I also encourage everyone to continue to add questions to the Q&A box. So I'll get started on the questions. The first one is probably for Fariha. If multiple recommendations are presented in the audit report, do we have to implement all of them?
Great question. No. So for an example, if let's say we do an on-site audit and 5 recommendations were made. Change this equipment, make this process change, and a few other options. There's no obligation to make all of those changes because we understand that it might not be possible. There's a large company investment that goes into making these changes, and every year looks different. So even timing wise, it's not like once we do an audit, we expect changes, at least one change to be made in 6 months. That's not the case. This is really just a stepping stone, and for businesses to have a resource, that they want to conserve water, but they might not know where to start. So we want to offer some resources on our end, but absolutely no obligation to make all the changes, even any of the changes. But ideally, we would want to see some progress towards water efficiency.
Thank you, Fariha. There's also a follow-up question, I think, to it. It's related to this. Is there any obligation to sign to participate in the program?
Okay, yeah. Great question. So there's no obligation to sign anything or any sort of contract. The only thing we have is we just have a terms and conditions and a health and safety document. And that's really for your reference and just to kind of give more details about the program. The health and safety, honestly, when we did it at the beginning of the year, COVID was still a big concern, and it still is. But there's just certain health and safety requirements. If masks are required, we would oblige by that. Steel-toed shoes, hard hats, safety glasses. So we have a document for that. And then just terms and conditions when it comes to the audit itself. We understand that we're guests at your facility if we're going to do an audit. So we want to oblige by any requirements that the facility has, but while still being cognizant of what the scope of the project is. It's really a walkthrough of the facility, some metering might be done, and then it's just a final report.
Okay, thank you. We have another question, which is, I think, open to any presenter, and so I would encourage more than one person to respond to this. It's about a question on the average return on investment. If you can provide an example, that would be great too.
I can begin. Yeah, we find usually 2 years or less is reasonable when it comes to water conservation. Sometimes it might be something that's worthwhile doing, but it has maybe 4 or 5 year return on investment. So we may suggest that as a soft recommendation, but we always try to keep around the 2 year or under mark. And sometimes it's even immediate. For example, the example Sad gave of just removing the handle from the valve so nobody can turn it up again, that's an immediate payback for zero costs. So we look for the low hanging fruit, of course, but then probably 2 years is what we aim for. Could go higher for more complex solutions.
Fariha or Syed, do you want? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, just to add on to that. It's a great point, Lloyd. And just based on the businesses that we've worked with in the past and some of the results we've seen, definitely 2 years. We've seen on average. On the higher end, we've seen maybe 5 years, but those are typically just larger company investments where there would be significant savings, but of course that initial capital investment would be quite a lot. So that would kind of increase that ROI. But typically we've seen, on average 2 years. On the lowest end, we've seen whether it's immediate or just a few months even, but around 2 to 5.
Okay.
I'd just like to add another thing to it. Since we're talking about ROI, there are a lot of instances where I found that since we are not specifically looking to save water, right? In a lot of places, we have opportunities where we can save water with just turning the tap. Most times in most manufacturing industries, we don't measure the amount of water that we're using unless it is so much that it's either overflowing or causing some issue. So either if it's too low or if it's extremely high. So I have found a lot of opportunities, and my stewards has helped us a lot as well with things such as just reducing the water flow to our air knives, for example, or reducing reusing the cooling water that we have in any of our equipment. So sometimes we get cooling water and then we just dump it into the sewer, and it is perfectly clean water, which we can reuse somewhere else. So a lot of the times the ROI is immediate. That's in my personal experience that I've found for a lot of smaller projects, for maybe saving 15, 20, 50, under $100,000 a year. So just a little input on that.
Thank you. That's helpful. There's another question here. Is the temperature metering during the audit done at the unit or at the property line?
Was that temperature?
Sorry, temporary meeting. I think it's the temporary meeting.
Oh, okay,
metering.
temporary. Yes, thank you.
Temporary
Thanks.
metering. Yeah.
Yeah, it's done typically downstream of the municipal meter. So usually a facility will have the water coming into the building. There's the municipal meter. It might be single or compound meter. Then we try to position the clamp-on meter somewhere downstream of that where there's low turbulence. So horizontal, straight length of pipe. Sometimes that's not always possible. So we'll trace the pipe to find a suitable location. Some pipes are covered with insulation. So we might have the facility maintenance staff, or we have permission just to cut us like a foot off the insulation to put our sensors on. Usually there's no issue with that, but yeah, it's done inside, to answer the question in short.
Okay. What if I start the process for an audit program but realize that I don't want to participate in the audit? Am I obligated to participate? Are there any consequences if I back out?
Yeah, not a problem. In short, there's no consequences if it's decided. We've come across sometimes a business is interested and then just something came up budget-wise and they decided, you know what, we actually can't move forward this year. Unfortunately, there's no obligation, there's no consequences, none of that. We would just, be open to communication in terms of, we understand it's a hard time at the moment. Let us know when it's a better time, whether it's a year from now or in a few months, and we can start up the process again. So there's no consequences for any inaction, or if we decide to, for example, an audit is scheduled and let's say for whatever reason there's an emergency, we have to cancel the audit. That's fine. We understand that things happen, and we want to be as accommodating as possible.
Okay. I think there are two other questions directed at you, Fariha. How many businesses have participated in the audit program so far?
Yeah, so we actually started this audit program back in 2007, but it was a little bit different at that time. It had a few different parameters, but essentially it was the same. It was, businesses looking at water saving opportunities for their facility. We would have a consultant go out, perform this type of audit with recommended changes in a report. On average, it really depended on the year. As of now, I mean, we've worked with maybe 10 per year on average, 5, maybe on the low end, maybe 5 to 7, just to give everyone an idea. So far, we're at the 10 mark in terms of audits that we've actually completed for this year. We're at the 10 mark. So it really depends on the year. Obviously, COVID was an interesting time. We didn't have the program during that period just because of everything that was going on. But yeah, we've worked with quite a few different industries and commercial facilities as well.
And there's another question about homes. Can we have this audit for homes?
Great question. So this specific program, we don't have it for homes. It is specific to industries. And then the information we have are for commercial and institutional facilities. However, we do have information when it comes to inside your home. We understand that there are a lot of water saving opportunities at your home when it comes to indoor, outdoor water usage. The biggest programs I can think of when it comes to home, we have a toilet subsidy program, but that is specific to high water consumers. So in your water bill, you would actually be given a letter, some sort of notification saying, there is a in comparison to other homes, we've noticed that you're using a lot more water. It could be because of leaks, older appliances. So that one is specific to toilets, where if you get that letter, you are applicable for a rebate. I believe it's $60 per toilet, per leaky toilet that's actually replaced. Other resources we have, we have resources when it comes to outdoor water usage, how best to landscape, garden, when it comes to irrigation. And we have information on leaks as well. So typical leaks you might find in your household, we have those items. So the webpage that was shared before, you'll notice on kind of like on the side, there's different options, and home is in there.
Thank you. We may have time for just one last question, and this is, what are some of the most common equipment changes made at commercial facilities?
Yeah, great question. So when it comes to commercial facilities, typically when I'm thinking about, we've come across convenience stores, restaurants, those type of businesses rather. The biggest change we've seen is toilets. It's usually the easiest a lot of the time, especially if certain commercial facilities are older. Toilets are not really looked at, and sometimes we've come across toilets where they're 13 liters. They're very, they're the older style, and not just the usage of 13 liters, but certain times there's leaks that are happening. So usually toilets are the biggest changes we've seen. Second to that would be condensers, so freezers, just going from a water-cooled system to an air-cooled system. We've seen that the most often, especially when it comes to like convenience stores, restaurants, even like clinics, like office buildings, if they have a kitchen in there. It's one of the easiest changes, and they're willing to make that initial investment, we found, for those ongoing water savings. So in short, toilets and condensers.
Thank you, Fariha. Thank you so much to Lloyd, Said, and Fariha for your time today, and for all the participants for joining and being engaged on this webinar.